everybody. It is Dr. Tamu of Innovative Education and Training and Coaching by Tamu. I am many things, but tonight I am focused on the entrepreneurial arm of my venture. And what do I do? Well, I co create with beautiful women, primarily Caribbean women and women in the diaspora to create scalable and innovative ventures. And we are on a journey to make $1 million in revenue. So that's who I am. And so, welcome to day 3 of the 7-day high growth entrepreneurship challenge. So, if you haven't looked at days 1 and 2, you should. And I have put the challenge questions on my Instagram for days 1 and 2. I'll be releasing the challenge questions in batches. So if you just wanted to, do a quick check on those challenge questions. And why am I doing the challenge? Well, I'm doing the challenge as a precursor to my Her Action and Accountability Accelerator in 2025. It's a 6-month accelerator. Every other month, it's coaching and co-working. So I'm really excited about that new model that I'm experimenting with. And I'm great at both. I'm great at coaching and I'm great at leading people to results. And what we will be doing in that accelerator is we will be using my high growth entrepreneurship roadmap. I am the creator of that roadmap, which is a business model that is designed to give you a clear pathway to move from what you are doing now to a high growth venture. And so I'd really love for you to go back to day 1 where I explain the characteristics of a high growth venture, because it's not what we think. A high growth venture is not just about revenue. There's some other characteristics as well. So what are we talking about today? Well, yesterday I gave you some great tips, I believe, on how to revise your value proposition to align with high growth entrepreneurship. I spoke about ways that you could do so and explained what we would be doing in the accelerator. But I did give you some tips and action steps that you can do right now to revise your value proposition. And I spoke about business model innovation and its relationship to value propositions and the revision of value propositions. So pretty heavy stuff, but I think in a way that is easy to imbibe. So tonight we talk about sacrifices. This is also another step on the high growth entrepreneurship roadmap. And why? Because the truth is that if you are moving towards a high growth venture, which means we're taking on employees, we're getting a regional and international footprint, we want our revenue to grow at least by 20% yearly, at least, so more. And, we have a global and high growth mindset, then there are some sacrifices that you are going to have to make in order to achieve these goals. Now, I primarily work with women, and I know that you're probably thinking, oh my gosh, girl, more sacrifices again? Yes, more sacrifices, more trade offs. And realize I'm not saying compromises, I'm saying sacrifices. And so I'm actually going to start with the challenge question before we move into the content. So tonight's challenge question is, what is the biggest sacrifice that you will have to make to become a high growth venture? So identify the biggest sacrifice or trade off that you will have to make to become a high growth venture. And so the challenge question is top tonight and it's scrolling across on the ticker. So now let's get into our content about what exactly is a sacrifice, right? So when we're talking about sacrificing, what does that even mean? What does it mean? So this is one of the questions that we need to ask. So when we talk about sacrifices, we're really talking about what you are giving up in order to grow your business, right? What are you giving up? What is the opportunity cost as well? All right, when you make this sacrifice. Okay, now I'm sure there are a number of things that you can think about. And I know you're saying, I already make so many sacrifices. Well, trust me, you're going to have to make more sacrifices. And I want to put the sacrifices in a framework because I know that your mind can begin spinning when it comes to sacrifices. And so I want you to Google, right, the Wheel of Life. Okay, the Wheel of Life. This is a common life coaching tool. I've used it very sparingly. It doesn't really align with the nature of the work I do, but it's a great tool right now so that you can look at the nature of the sacrifices you might have to make in a systematic way with some guardrails. So if you did a quick Google search of the Wheel of Life, you would see that there are a number of categories. Let me see. I think there are seven categories. So when we're talking about the Wheel of Life, I want you to go through each category and identify a sacrifice that you might have to make in each category of the Wheel of Life, right? In order to position yourself to build a high growth venture. And so on the Wheel of Life, you have business and career as a category. So many persons, many entrepreneurs that I work with, and many entrepreneurs just globally, but particularly in the Caribbean region, and particularly women, they also have 9 to 5 jobs. And so, what might be the sacrifice that you are having to make on that job, right? Also, in your own business, like your entrepreneurial venture, what are some sacrifices that you might have to make there? So, if you have a 9 to 5, I always tell people, or even if you're in like committees and associations and organizations, don't go on the executive now, unless it aligns with a strategy, unless you have a particular strategy in mind, a reason why you are on there or you've been appointed to that role, then remove yourself. Okay, that might be the sacrifice that you have to make. 9 to 5, same thing. You're going to, I read this thing about quiet quitting. You might have to do quiet quitting on the 9 to 5 in order to focus on your high growth venture. The other category on the Wheel of Life, when we're talking about sacrifices that you want to consider, would be what are the financial sacrifices that you are going to need to make? Do you have to delay a big purchase? Do you have to refinance something? Do you have to give up equity in your company? Do you have to really look at your budgeting spreadsheet and reduce your costs, right? But I always believe you should try to build revenue, eh? Or are you going to have to increase your reinvestment amount? There's a book that I always talk about called Profit First. My brother, hey Brent, gave it to me a couple Christmases ago, some time ago. And I love that book. And it actually gives you formula that you can use. And one of the formula includes, or one of the formulas includes the idea of reinvestment. And it tells you, like I personally reinvest 5% now. So for every dollar I make above a certain amount, I reinvest 5% of that. And the reason is that when I have to pour back into my business, this 5% has been accumulating over my year in terms of revenue. Okay, now I don't always stick to it, but that's the intent. Now, is it that you're going to have to sacrifice saving in other areas in order to build your reinvestment amount? I'm just giving you ideas of sacrifices that you might have to make to build a high growth venture using the wheel of life as a framework to identify categories. Then there is, what do you have to sacrifice for your health, right? Now, we want us to be in the best, healthy state that we can. I have been sacrificing my health for work, but that's not what we want to do. We want to flip it, look through the other side, and identify what it is we have to sacrifice in order to be healthier, to have the vigor, right? The mental acuity, etc., in order to build this high growth venture and to make strategic decisions. That requires a level of mental clarity. So it might mean that, you're going to have to be more stringent with your health goals. I'm on a health journey. I'm trying to lose 20 pounds also. Y'all be with me. Okay, be with me. Now, another category on the wheel of life that you can consider where you might have to make a sacrifice is family and friends. So, family and friends are on the wheel of life. So, do you have to sacrifice time or the nature of the time spent with family and friends? Is it that you have to leave some family and some friends behind? But when you are doing the sacrifice notes, I want you to be specific. I'm not being specific here because I don't know your life. But you might say, you see that Tamu? All Tamu talking about is weave, and we normally go to brunch every other month, Sunday. I'm going to have to cut that out. That is time better spent, or time that I can put into spaces that will grow me in alignment with my high growth venture goals. Then there's romance. And the truth is that when you're building anything, it doesn't have to be a business, but when you're focused, right? When you're doing degrees, when you're doing trainings, when you're honing your skills, when you're working, your romantic life suffers. And I don't know that there's a way to balance that. And I actually don't believe in work-life balance. I use the phrase work-life harmony. I don't believe in work-life balance. I don't think it's possible, because you can have everything you want, but you can't have them at the same time, which is why you can't have balance. So then on that romance list, what are you sacrificing romantically in order to move you to where you want to go, which is high growth entrepreneurship? Then there's personal growth. Are you sacrificing? Is there something you have to sacrifice in terms of your personal growth? Maybe there is a course that you wanted to take. Maybe there is some sort of maybe entertainment thing that you used to do, or whatever the case might be. And now you want to save that time, invest that money elsewhere. And then fun and recreation. What are you sacrificing in that area? So I want you to look up the wheel of life, okay? And then I want you to specifically identify at least one thing in each category of the wheel of life that you might have to sacrifice, okay? And then I want you to just choose one of those things that you feel that you can begin with as a launch pad to sacrifice to reach that $1 million goal mark that we're trying to get to, or that next 100K, that next $250,000, whatever you're trying to get to. After you've used the wheel of life categories, identify the one thing and begin to mobilize your mind around it. All right. So Melissa puts in the chat for me, my great friend Melissa. She's so supportive. Shang, I'm being the sacrifice. Okay. I had to keep Melissa on my side. Yeah. Okay. what do you have to sacrifice? Because we're going to have to sacrifice something, because most of us are building from a place of solopreneurship. And even, I want to put this to you, even if you have team members, I can tell you now that most people have workers. They do not actually have team members that can grow the venture. They have workers. So one of the persons I'm going to be bringing onto my team, because remember I said I walk in my roadmap, I walk in my roadmap before I come on with Ohio in January, because is a business development specialist. Why? Because that person can actually grow my bottom line in a strategic way. So I know some of y'all are thinking, okay, well, I mean, Tamu, yeah, I have workers, I have somebody who answer my phone, etc., etc., etc. Yes, these persons are important, but are they positioned to help you with strategic growth? So that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about team. Okay. So this is why we have to sacrifice, because we are working from a place of solopreneurship, even if you have employees, because the employees you currently have are not managers, they're not chief operation officers, they're not handling the things that actually amplify business. Like, I've been in business, private sector, in leadership roles for quite some time. And so I understand that getting to the next level is really all about those types of key pivotal positions. And so what might you have to sacrifice in order to afford your first key pivotal position? You maybe can't pay yourself, right? Maybe I have to do like me, stop doing your hair every month, put in the little hot braids and do them every 3 months. All right. So get the wheel of life and let's work through that. All right. You know, it can't be a coaching by Tamu time if we ain't talking the data and the research. I just love it. Okay. I love a data and I love a research. I'm not telling any lies. So what I want to talk about, and I ain't going deep, I just want to highlight some major elements that when we're talking about sacrifice. All right. So this paper, I'll give you the name and the year shortly, right? Defines sacrifice as the degree to which a small business owner will forego valuables in order to obtain resources to devote to the business. Let's go with that again. The degree to which a small business owner will forego valuables in order to obtain resources to devote to the business. So this is in the Journal of World Business. The title of this research paper is Owner Sacrifice and Small Business Growth. It's an older article, it's 2012, but the findings are, to me, quite relevant even today. And the crux of this paper that I want to pull out for us tonight is that it says here that personal sacrifices were a consistent predictor of continuous growth compared to stagnation and deceleration. So you see that? So sacrifices is on my roadmap, but I ain't just haul it on because, it's so nice. It's the truth. So the research is saying personal sacrifices were a predictor of continuous growth, and that the sacrifices involved both resource acquisition and market expansion, and that those two things called for continuous hard work. I think we know. Required sacrifices in leisurely activity and socializing. And these comprise the core of the personal sacrifice scale. So this is why I thought the Wheel of Life, because it has things like fun and recreation, etc., would be a great framework to consider your sacrifices. So the truth is that it's impossible to maneuver into the high growth space without sacrifice. But the sacrifice is not just money. Sometimes you think sacrifice is money, but the sacrifice is personal sacrifices. Okay, let's go to another research finding. All right, this paper is The Dilemma of Growth: Understanding Venture Size Choices of Women Entrepreneurs. All right. And the results of this research paper, or the results include that for women who choose growth as a deliberate choice. So, like, you're on here with me because you are making a deliberate choice, right? To move into high growth entrepreneurship. As a matter of fact, if you're working with Coaching by Tamu, it's because you want to grow. So you're part of this population of the study. A woman who has made a deliberate choice, right, to grow their business. And it says that you have to have a clear sense, the ones that were successful had a clear sense of the costs and benefits of growth and made careful trade-off decisions. You understand? You understand that? So once you make the choice to go high growth, then you know that you must sacrifice and you must trade off. It's not possible without it. It's not possible. Okay? So let's go again now. This is the last study, right? Since we're not in a lecture hall. But this one is good because I'm an empty nester now. But I remember when my children were small, I always did entrepreneurial things. Remember in 2012, I would have started Innovative Education and Training as an online, basically an online school for A levels in the disciplines of management, of business, IT, and then later I added entrepreneurship and digital media. I would have written and published study guides, and then now Innovative Education and Training evolved into a lot of leadership training, etc. But all of that time I was raising two children, and it was really, really hard. And I know that many of you who can relate. And this paper speaks to the fact, okay, that growth intentions, right, will be compromised in women who have children younger than 18 years old and are married. And let me tell you, see, that marital status, I'm not trying to break up your marriage, but that marital status, it reappears in numerous research papers that women, even in career roles, right? The women who reach to the top, right? And in entrepreneurial spaces, the women that are reaching to the top, they either have extreme support at home from a spouse or extended family, right? Or they were unmarried. So that's just how that go. But another interesting finding in this paper, because I was like, oh boy, they're going to say that Dr. Tamawan mash up the marriage. You know what, mash up your marriage? I was married. It mash up, but I was married. I understand marriage. But this paper also speaks to the fact that women entrepreneurs who are copreneurs, and a copreneur is someone who is married to the entrepreneur. So, like, all you're running business together, right? They were found to have high growth intentions. So, women who coupled, right, And corpreneur is more of a romantic term. But I believe that it would be interesting. I'm going to look into the research some more for corpreneurs who are not romantic, but basically coupling with another entrepreneur and running a business. These founders had high growth intention, which makes sense because the reason that you are joining forces and becoming, co-COOs, CEOs, or whatever the case might be, is because you understand that doing so will amplify and accelerate your growth. Okay. And this says that corpreneurial women have been known to be growth oriented, as opposed to merely starting and operating a business that can only cater for their basic lifestyle needs. So, this is something that you might want to consider. And how does it fit into sacrifices and trade offs? Well, it fits into sacrifices and trade offs because a lot of us want to run business by ourselves, which is why we don't have any team members that are actually of a status that make decisions, that have, you can engage in strategic plans. So that in itself might be a sacrifice or trade-off for you. Understanding, right, that if you are going to be growth oriented, you might need co-preneurship, right? And it doesn't have to be romantic. So this is a very important consideration, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to set the foundation. So Melissa asks, what is considered a business for basic lifestyle needs? Well, the question really is, what is a basic lifestyle need? So a business that has a basic, covers your basic lifestyle needs is that you don't have any real growth intentions. You do it to make sure that your bills are paid. It's almost like survival business entrepreneurship. So, for instance, if you have a retail store, and though you make good money, it can pay for your car note, it can pay your rent or your mortgage, but you could do your hair, these sorts of things, but you really have no intention of maybe opening new branches, franchising, etc. That is a business that is a lifestyle business. It means that you've created the business to fund your basic lifestyle. So people who have other lifestyle businesses are people who have larger businesses, but once again, it's not about building a company, it's about having a flashier lifestyle. So you could have the basic lifestyle business, or you could have the lifestyle entrepreneur. In the literature, it's really just to fund your life, but you ain't really trying to leave a legacy and these types of things. All right. So remember, we always only on here for 30 minutes. We're actually at 30 minutes. And so the core of tonight's discourse was about identifying the biggest sacrifice that you are going to have to make in order to prime yourself and your life for high growth entrepreneurship. So if you're going into tech, that's you. If you're franchising, that's you. If you want to move into another high growth industry, but AI is tech, another emerging industry in construction, fabrication, these sorts of things, this is you. If you're trying to make $1 million in revenue by not being just a solopreneur, because you can make $1 million in revenue being a solopreneur, no doubt, right? I said revenue, not profit, but you could do that too. But you want to build a business with a structure and become a bigger business, an entity, then sacrifice has to be made. It's non-negotiable. So remember, the takeaways are Google the wheel of life. 1. Look at each category and identify a specific sacrifice. So specific, write down the names, the places, etc., the amount. Okay. So identify a sacrifice or trade-off you might have to make in each category. Then review each one and then determine which is the biggest sacrifice. Why? And why do we do it so early in the her roadmap? It's like the I feel it's the second step, actually. Yeah, it might be the second step on the roadmap because it takes some time to make that sacrifice a habit and to even just grapple with it emotionally. Yeah, that's the truth. And so that's why it's so high up, because you're going to have to build the muscle of sacrifice in order to scaffold the other elements of the roadmap on top of that. All right. So that's it for me tonight. I'd like to keep it short and sweet because we know people are busy and you're competing with so many eyeballs on the internet. So we have to keep it, tight. Tomorrow, which is day 4, we are going to talk about support systems, right? Because if you sacrifice some things, especially when you have children or anyone that you are caretaking, you are going to need some support systems. So we're going to talk about support systems and yeah, I want to see how innovative I can be about that tomorrow. So join me at 8 p.m. tomorrow, Facebook Live or YouTube Live. In terms of the Action and Accountability Accelerator, thank you for those of you who have invested. I appreciate you. You'd have received your electronic receipt. I was excited to get the notification. And from now until the 8th of December, we do have a tiered discounting. So right now we're at 115 USD. The early bird price is 147. So we're working our way up to 147. And so the link is in the description. It's all over social media. It's at tamobrown.com, or of course, you can message me. 6 months, every other month, coaching and co-working. We're going to be working. It's not going to be no lecture vibes in there. We're going to be going through things individually. We're going to be having peer feedback. We're going to be doing a lot of exciting things so that we build this high growth entrepreneur venture. If you have a friend, tell a friend, share the videos. All right, everybody. Bye.